You're listening to the Why I Love Disney podcast, and in this episode, we take a look back at 2019 at our list of the top news, highlights, and events that happened in the world of Disney. Hope you enjoy. And it's long enough now. If you don't know Infinity War's ending, I'm sorry. But spoiler, Spider-Man dies.
Right.
I mean, a very dramatic scene where he just disappears. And I remember looking at my kid, and he's like, Spider-Man's dead, you know? And so to have him cut the... Hold on, this is going to get edited.
So Dustin's literally tearing up.
I'm tearing up explaining this. Welcome to another episode of Why I Love Disney. I'm Dustin.
I'm David.
I'm Ramin.
We're going to go back over to 2019. And we're going to look back over the last year at some of the best things we found that Disney did, at least on our list.
Yep.
My top list, David's top list. Ramin's going to chime in with a thing or two, I'm pretty sure. So let's get started. 2019 was a huge year for Disney. I was just reading the news, like their movies, $13 billion in revenue. I think it's like a record for a studio.
Yeah, it's amazing.
How many? I think they had 7 or 8 billion-dollar movies.
Yeah. Including,
of course, a couple of Marvel ones. You had Endgame, you had Captain Marvel, you had Rise of Skywalker, and then you had the Aladdin remake, Lion King, Toy Story 4. There's something
Frozen 2.
Frozen 2, my goodness. Just massive names that just generated some box office revenue like we've never seen. And it kind of makes you think, like, can they follow that up in 2020? I mean, there's so many huge movies. I don't know, but let's get started.
All right.
In this. This could be from anything Disney. So we're talking TV, movies, parks, rides, T-shirts, apparel, whatever. You know, your favorite mouse here. So,
and this doesn't necessarily mean what we think was the best. It's just what we loved the most.
That's exactly right. Great disclaimer, because this is not the definitive list. If we haven't told you before, we are fans, not experts. We are not journalists.
Yeah.
We are just fans who want to bring you joy and happiness and share what we love about Disney.
That's right.
So, and we may throw our least favorite here and there just to keep it real. You know what I mean?
All right.
So, David, we're gonna let you start off. What was one of your favorite things in 2019?
Well, I'll start off with the big one. Just Rise of Resistance, the ride.
Okay, what is that? The ride.
The ride. Rise of Resistance, Galaxy's Edge.
The Galaxy's Edge.
Yes,
that is the Star Wars world, Galaxy's Edge.
The new attraction that opened Disney World, I believe, December 19th.
Okay,
I think it was around the opening date. Opening up also at Disneyland, and the rest of the land has been open. Smuggler's Run, the other attraction's been open, but now we've got the Rise of the Resistance, which is the one everybody's been waiting for. So it was an amazing journey to get to go ride that ride.
So you rode it?
I did.
And okay, give us a. Are you allowed to spoil? Is it one of those things you don't?
No,
want to spoil?
I'm not going to spoil it. No, because I've asked them. That's one of the people. I've had several people tell me that they weren't going to spoil it for me, and then they end up telling you more than you want to know. But I would just say, I was actually saw this quote the other day when Disney was talking about when they made Mary Poppins. Mm-hmm. And he said, we took all the things we've learned over 30 years of making movies, and the result is Mary Poppins. That's what Rise of Resistance feels like. All these years of doing park attractions, we put some of all of it in one ride, and you get Rise of Resistance.
So you thought it lived up to the hype.
I did, and I was a little skeptical because I thought, what it's just epic. It just has that feel of it has some of everything.
I cannot wait.
That's the best thing you can describe it, because if you tell any more than that, it starts to give people clues of what's to come. So.
Okay, so help me out just because I haven't been to the parks this year. I haven't ridden these things. Mm-hmm. The Smuggler's Run, both of those at both parks, Disneyland and Disney World?
Yes, they both are. Both in Galaxy's Edge, the lands are pretty much the same. Same experiences, same shopping, same restaurants, same rides. But yeah, so you get the same ride. The Rise of the Resistance ride would be the same. Yes.
At either place. Okay.
That's my understanding as far as but just the journey of we're going to talk about that in in another podcast just being down there that week and what the lines were like and what it was like to get on that ride.
Oh, wow.
It was a crazy experience. We'll talk about that later. But just the ride, I would say it was one of the few things I've done, few attractions I've done in many, many years where we realized our mouths were open. We were actually open mouthed going, oh my goodness, wow.
That makes me really excited.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That makes me want to get down there.
It's so epic. It makes you feel very small in the ride, in the universe. And so, yeah.
All right, so that's the top of your list.
I think so. I don't know. I mean, there were some other good things, rides and movies. Both.
I feel like we should have started with number 5 and worked
I
up
know.
to that. I don't know how we topped that.
Actually, you started out with what's the best. What was my best?
That's true.
Hey, and you know what? I've seen so many podcasts and vlogs and everything already. It's at the top of many people's lists, so that's not a big surprise to a lot of people.
Cool. Well, I guess I'll start with it, and another epic sort of thing. I like big epic things. Endgame.
Yes.
Avengers Endgame was, I thought, about as perfect an ending to that series or that conclusion that they could have made.
Yes.
I thought in scale it was huge. I always have been skeptical. From the very first Avengers, I was always skeptical. How are they going to give all of these characters enough screen time to do them justice?
Right.
How is this not going to be kind of fall apart and just be kind of corny, right?
Yeah.
But the acting is fantastic. I mean, throughout all of the movies, there's very few that I haven't enjoyed immensely. You can rank them, of course, your favorites for different reasons, but this is up there. And not only was this probably the biggest movie event of the year because of the build up and the cliffhanger from Infinity War,
Right.
but they hit it out of the park. In my opinion, there were several moments where you just felt the despair at the beginning, and then later on the elation and the joy. I always rate them when something's really great and excellent, whether it's a piece of music or art or the ride you were on or a movie. Does it move me?
Right.
Do I feel something?
Yeah.
And most often for me, that's the reaction is I get well up a little bit with tears, not because I'm sad. It's just this is so awesome.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of those moments. So I'm with my kids too in this, and I remember at the end of Infinity War when you see it opening day, you really didn't know what was coming,
Right?
And I'm there with my young kids. I got 4 little boys, and it's long enough now. If you don't know Infinity War's ending, I'm sorry, but spoiler: Spider-Man dies.
Right.
I mean, a very dramatic scene where he just disappears, and I remember looking at my kid, and he's like, "Spider-Man's dead," and so to have him cut the. Hold on, this is going to get edited. So
Dustin's literally tearing up.
I'm tearing up explaining this. So no, my son who was all shocked because Spider-Man had died,
right.
to when Spider-Man comes in at the end. Whew, hold on, this is so corny. He comes in at the end, and my son says, "It's Spider-Man." To me, I got a little emotional there. I'm not. So movies and great things, baby. I gotta stop. They make me really happy. So
you're also adding your kids into that.
Yeah,
mix.
absolutely.
So it's the emotion of watching all this great content, and then you put your kids into the mix, and you see the effect that it has on them.
Yeah, and what a powerful connection in that movie, Spider-Man and Iron Man. That relationship. I mean, it was unlike any of the other character relationships. It's just really powerful.
Totally. We're doing this the day the Oscar nominations came out, by the way, too, and that Robert Downey Jr. was not nominated is some sort of ism. I'm not sure what ism it is. It's some sort of ism to keep comic book hero discrimination is what this is, because I thought he definitely deserved a Best Actor, at least a nomination for his role as Tony Stark. He did incredibly. So that's my biggest. I loved Endgame and thought they nailed it, and it's the highest grossing movie of all time now. It overtook Avatar, which I'm thrilled because I'm not a huge Avatar fan. Never have been a huge Avatar fan. So.
I've heard multiple people say that it was good to see Endgame take that, and I'm excited about what they'll do with Avatar in the future. But yeah, Endgame, that was just amazing. Again, And I enjoyed Endgame with my son the same way I enjoyed Rise of Resistance with my son. So that's a huge factor with those movies with me too, of the Marvel and the Star Wars, bringing that, watching and enjoying those things with my son too. It makes it even more of a journey, when you experience those things.
It really does, and whether we have children, to experience with someone else is really whoever that is, whether it's your spouse or your best friend or something like that. To experiencing community is really a powerful thing. Yeah, and these shared experiences are kind of what lead us even to this podcast, is just to talk about these things. It's fantastic. I love that's an added element that Disney does really well. Yeah, I think. They just they pull all those strings, every single one of them, and know just how to do it.
They do.
Ramin, do you have a top of 20? I don't want to put you on the spot here, man, but
man, I really did enjoy the Avengers Endgame. I would think maybe one of my favorite additions of 2019 was Disney Plus. Right, we got all this amazing content all wrapped up in one place, and it's all on demand. You can access all your childhood favorites and new content easily now. And how cool is that? I think that's huge. I think for the streaming world, and it's going to have huge implications for the future and stuff too. So awesome. Disney Plus.
Absolutely. I think we were all day one or week one subscribers for the most part. And dude, like you're explaining, like that's on my list too. It's like next on my list. The Disney Plus thing is a game changer for many reasons. One, and we've talked about that. I feel like my oldest is 11, my youngest is 4. And I feel like here's a streaming service where they're safe to kind of roam around. There's age appropriate things, of course, but it's not like turning them loose on Netflix and hoping they're on their kids. I can trust that it's safe for the most part, right. And I love that. And not only that, the content is immense, from The Simpsons to the original content, which is fantastic. It's on my list here. We'll wait a minute to talk about that. But to the classic Disney Vault Library, some of my favorite movies of all right there that I can turn on and watch Flight of the Navigator with my kids. That's great movie night. You know what I'm saying?
I remember the first time that I logged on to Disney Plus. A good friend of mine, he's like, just scroll through this catalog of stuff. And Disney has a lot of things, but Disney Plus putting it all together is like kind of the first time you get to see it all just lined out like that. And it's like, wow, how much content they have. It's just really impressive.
Absolutely. I'm loving the service. Have you?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's actually, there's even more content. They don't have everything on here, but they have a vast majority. All the animated movies, so many live action movies. There's just tons on here. So it's amazing to have it all in one place and so accessible at all times on your phone, whatever you can.
Oh yeah, and I don't want to also what this means business wise for we work a little bit in entertainment and streaming and some of those different creative processes, but what this means for the streaming business, what this means for going forward. I think from what I've read, their numbers are have all surpassed their expectations. They're kind of minimum threshold, and honestly, to most of us who are fans of Disney and we kind of expect. I think I kind of expected this, especially when they announced the price point, like at $7. It'll eventually most likely go up, and that's fine. I'm not going to drop it for an extra $1 a month. I probably shouldn't say that out loud. If it goes up $1 a month, we're all out. No, $7 a month for that kind of content, it just seems like that's an easy decision for my family of 6 to do. And then there's so much content, so much vetted content, so much quality content, that Oscar-winning content. Fantastic family entertainment that's not like, well, we've never seen this brand. We trust Disney. The brand, that's what they do. And I think it's a game changer for the industry too, the streaming and television industry. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here, because I think this is just kind of the beginning of it all. Right. But yeah, that was on my list too. That's great. So David, you got something else for me?
Well, I'll continue on. Can we just continue on with some more specifics about Disney Plus that we liked?
Yeah, sure. Well, so Disney Plus was a thing, but within Disney Plus,
well, one of the things I was most excited about with Disney Plus was the new content, and our family has been collecting, buying Disney movies and DVDs and Blu-rays for. I've got kids that are teenagers for many years, and I was buying them before I had kids. Okay. So, there weren't many old classics and things like that we didn't already own. So I was really looking more forward to what the new things were coming out. I was especially it's tough. I got a couple of favorites from Disney Plus, but I'll let one of you guys hit one of the others, and I'll go with the Imagineering story. That's one of the things that I love about Disney most is the story of animation and the story of the Imagineering on the park side. Just how these artists create what they create. I just love the stories, and so that was a great series for me. A lot of the footage in the earlier episodes I'd seen before. It was great seeing a lot of it had been. It looked like it had been. What's the word I'm trying to think of?
Digitally enhanced.
Yeah, digitally enhanced, where they took old film and made it look great. Some of that great old footage of Walt Disney was amazing. I love that, and so, but then some of the newer episodes, it was really neat to see them go ahead and tell some of the difficult parts of the story, some of the different parts that times that things weren't going great, and being honest about this part of the process was struggling, and this park wasn't doing well, and this park was doing well, and why was this not, what they learned through the process. It was really fascinating. I appreciated them being given a little bit more vulnerable part of the story to it, and just being a little bit more open about some of the things that didn't work well and how they're fixing those things. Yeah. And because even when you look back, you think sometimes they'll be critical about, well, this park wasn't doing well, and you think, I loved it.
Right.
we loved it. Mm-hmm. We didn't know it was doing poorly, but they just have, I guess, such high standards. But it's interesting to hear that story. So I really love that. I actually was just very sad. I was hoping it was going to keep going. I feel like there's more to tell. I'd love to hear more backstory on more Imagineering and more specific about different rides. It's kind of sad to see that series end.
Has there been any talk? Have you heard about more?
I haven't. I kind of thought that was over, so I don't know.
Because it kind of starts from the beginning and it ends with the Star Wars stuff, right? The Galaxies Edge creation, which brings you really to now. Right. But man, there's so much more. Yeah. They could go into. I would love to see a season 2 and maybe just go ride to ride. And again, some of it may be limited to who's still alive, right? Who can tell these stories. I don't know, but man, I was immersed too. I'm with you.
I would love it. I would love if they would go. And there's some fan produced things out there that tell some of those stories, but I would love to see them, the same team, go do some ride by ride. Sure, stories would be amazing. Some of the iconic things.
We may do an episode just on the Imagineering story at some point, talking about our impressions of that, because man, the first couple of episodes especially, I was just blown away and struck by what, it blows my mind what they were doing before I was born, the technology and the things that they create, from the Lincoln robot to what happened in the Hall of Presidents to all of the animatronics that this stuff is, when they show this footage, in this documentary style, right? It's blowing my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, what, they just dreamed up something, they went and did it.
Yeah, they figured out how to do what they wanted to do,
right. And with technology today, it's really, it's amazing to me what they were able to accomplish, and that's what's inspiring about Disney in general. But I'm with you. I've loved the Imagineering story. I've loved binging and pushing through that, and I've recommended it to many, many people as well. Yeah. If you haven't listened or watched it yet on Disney Plus, subscribe and watch it, or steal somebody's account information and watch it. We don't advocate for that, but
so that was definitely one of my favorites from this past year.
Awesome. Well, Ramin, do you have any other things that popped up from 2019?
Well, 2019, and again, on the Disney Plus theme, The Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it's been really, really great.
This is the disadvantage of going last, is y'all take all of mine.
Taking on.
But that's cool.
I knew we would all have about the same list.
Well, it's a great list. So, Mandalorian, what'd you think?
No, I've really enjoyed it so far. It's been a really fun series to watch. it feels a little bit like a video game at times, almost, because we have a main mission, and we get little Baby Yoda and kind of what's developing there, and then our Mandalorian characters taking on almost like these side missions per episode. And I heard you reference this was kind of like a throwback maybe to older TV series where it wasn't maybe less continuity per episode, but it's kind of more compartmentalized, where each episode has a clear beginning, end, middle, and end, instead of. But it's been really fun. I've really liked it. It's been really cool so far. So I'm excited to see where season 2 goes with it.
Yeah, it's on my list too. I mean, everything you guys have said is pretty much on my list.
It was on my list too.
Mandalorian is fantastic.
It's great,
and for several reasons. It's just on its own. It's great, and you hope like it's the kind of the flagship program when Disney Plus launched. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so you go into it like, please let this be good. Please let this be good, and you go and watch it. And it's really good. Like, it's legit good. And then, but that's not enough for somebody like me. I just don't want to think it's good. I want everybody else to think it's good too. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that, like, people who are kind of marginal Star Wars fans or not Star Wars fans at all, are in. They're in on it. I haven't heard anyone who says, I don't really like it. I've not heard anyone say that.
I've actually heard several people say it's their favorite Star Wars.
Likewise.
Thing. So
for me as a Star Wars fan, that's exciting, and it's also exciting because I really enjoyed the last thing on my list is the Rise of Skywalker. I thought it was a fantastic end to the saga. But before I get there, what I've loved about it is, even though The Force Awakens, the middle one, well, what's it called?
Last Jedi. Sorry.
And the Rise. It's the one I like the least. So I'm blanking. But the Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker, I think were very, very good. And I think most Star Wars fans were have mixed reviews, but mostly positive towards it, more so than the prequels, for sure.
Right.
But my fear has always been, okay, has Star Wars lost its magic, its cultural magic? Are we kind of done with Star Wars, and will it ever be something great? I mean, incredibly impactful again. And I hate to even say that out loud, and I probably wouldn't have had I not come to this conclusion that The Mandalorian to me represents what Disney can do to make it great and better. Right. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know if that was even possible. Maybe that the magic of Star Wars was in, Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie. And once that's over, there are other kind of subsets that might see a little bit of success, but it's never going to be what it was. Well, The Mandalorian has rekindled my hope that there can be more characters and more franchises and things that carry on, and maybe could be even bigger than the original Star. I know maybe heresy to some Star Wars purists out there, but I love The Mandalorian for that reason, and I'm so excited for season 2. I think that comes out in the fall of 2020, from what I've read. And Mandalorian's on my list too. David, it's on your list also?
Yeah, I thought it was. What do you guys? What did you love about it? I mean, what do you know? What about it was so good to you? I mean,
first, the mystery.
That's on my list.
They did not give away anything.
Yeah, I thought that was really effective.
Is that Boba Fett, Jango Fett? Is it somebody in the Fett family? Because it looks kind of like, and I didn't know. Maybe I didn't do enough research going into it, but no, it doesn't seem to be. Then Baby Yoda, it's still a mystery. I hope I haven't spoiled it for anyone. Mm-hmm. And then there's other auxiliary characters from the Jawa and the worlds they're on. The Ugnaught character, voiced by Nick Nolte. There's just people I know from the Star Wars universe, even having action figures as a kid, IG-88, that I've seen now portrayed with more depth, and that to me was fantastic. They didn't give anything away. There's mystery there's still mystery. Right. You're still trying to figure out what's going on. They're hinting at the Jedi, this magic power. You have the Empire. Kind of, you're not sure where they fit in. You have this whole sinister bounty hunter code and this other thing that we're getting introduced to, and to be perfectly honest, and some new worlds as well. I just thought it was incredibly creative, incredibly innovative.
Well done.
Well done. Great acting.
Yeah.
Just exciting and adventure and all of that kind of the mystery of it. I think just makes it.
Yeah, I love the mystery of it, that all the way you're wondering what's going on, but you stay tuned in because you do want to know what's going to happen next. It's not it was just really a good approach to doing that.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Well, do we have anything else on our list over there? Who has something else to go?
I mean, a couple other things that I thought were some cool moments in the park. The new Skyliner that's opened up as a transportation to some different resorts to the parks.
What is that?
The new Skyliner it's a skylift system that connects Hollywood Studios to Epcot. It also connects several of the resorts. It's like a gondola. It's like a skylift.
So on a cable?
On a cable.
Oh, wow.
And that's a new addition in 2019.
Kind of a throwback to the old cable cars across the park.
It used to go across the park. If the bigger, I mean, these hold like 10 people.
Okay.
And I watched a lot of the stories that people were putting out about them in 2019, and there was a lot of talk about was it going to be too hot in the Florida weather, because it's not air conditioned. But we got to ride them when we were there a few weeks ago, and a great system. It was really fun to ride. I would love to see it expand and connect more resorts and hotels to the parks, because it is a great way to get around. It was a nice break from the buses, because a lot of the transportation is on bus, and that can take a lot of time getting from place to place. So that was really fun. Cool. And it kind of a throwback. It was nostalgic to be back on a skylift at Disney after all these years, and so I love that. And I've got a couple other things I can mention movie-wise if you guys have anything else. I just think in speaking to we didn't really talk about any of the animated stuff for this past year, and I wasn't my all-time favorite, but I really enjoyed Toy Story 4.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, again, like you said, with Endgame, to bring back the story and kind of tie up some loose ends, I thought was better. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be. And
it's almost weird, that fourth sequel, no matter what the franchise is. Yeah. Like whether it's Rocky or that, 4 is usually too many. But in this case,
I thought it was really good. And
I agree.
I was a little more braced for the ending, so it wasn't as emotional to me as Toy Story 3.
Right.
But
I agree with that.
I knew that it was coming.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I know one way or another there's a parting. Yeah. Somewhere. I just don't know who's parting, who's saying goodbye to whom. So I'm holding on and
you're hardening your cold heart.
I'm just holding on
so you don't break into tears.
But it's like it was a lot different.
Unlike me,
I've got teenagers now, and we still do a lot of these Disney movies as a family. So it was a lot different than Toy Story 3. My kids, we all still remember sitting in Toy Story 3 in several moments, and I'm was like going, oh no, what if this happens? What are my kids going to do? So they're older now, so we didn't have that. But mainly, I'm just trying to go, oh man, I don't want to tear up here at the end of this movie. But I thought it was, man, the thing that blew me away, just the technology and the level of animation that we've come to. That when these toys were walking behind in the antique store, and they're walking down behind furniture, and there are cobwebs and spider webs, and you can see the dust. I mean, that's one of the things that I first loved about Disney animation, and to see all these years later, it just keeps growing and growing, getting better and better. I just wonder what the old animators, these guys that created this genre, what they would think if they could see how far it's gone now. I think they would be applauding and clapping their hands, and so I thought, I thought they did a very good job. There's some great new characters in there that were fun, and but I thought it was a worthy end to the series. I could imagine. I saw a clip or two where Tom Hanks and Tim Allen both talked about walking away from these characters they've played for so many years, and I could see how that would be an emotional thing when you've played these characters for 25 years.
I completely agree. Toy Story 4 was great. It's a good thing.
I think that's one of the things that actually separated Toy Story 4 from a lot of the other movies, because it wasn't necessarily a remake or a reboot This is a series that's been going on since '95.
Wow.
Right, and so this story's been continuing on for 24 years. So a lot of us, this has been a big part of our lives, like for a big portion of it, and this was the conclusion to that. So definitely a cool moment, and I thought they did a great job.
And when people talk about sequels and how bad they are, if I love the characters and they have a good story, I don't care if they bring it back. Now I don't always want to see a sequel if it's going to break the opportunity for new content and new stories to come out. But I mean, it's hard not to want to see Woody and Buzz again. Those are such great characters, and they've got a great story. It never bothers me if they decide in 5 years there's another part of the story. I'll be open to seeing that too.
And we hope they do. Yeah, I mean,
but I totally agree with you there. I enjoyed it more than the reboots like Lion King and Aladdin. I thought all those things I thought they were good.
Yeah, I think I should qualify too. When I say later on sequels, a lot of times it can just start to feel like a cash grab, and you get something that's not as good.
Oh yeah,
kind of taking advantage of the characters.
Well, when my
that used to be good.
When my kids were little, and my kids were little, they grew up in that generation of the Cinderella 2 and 3, and the Pocahontas 2, and Mulan 2, and there were lots of made-for-TV, made direct-video movies that everybody is usually very critical because they didn't. The quality was not the same.
Right.
They were not. It's not that they were bad for what they were. They just were not feature animation going to the theater quality like these things are today. So you do expect when you go to the theater to see it's going to be as good as the original.
Well, I completely agree. We need to start winding down here a little bit, but before we do you have? First of all, I don't want to stop. Is there anything else on your list you want to give a shout out to on your best of 2019 Disney list?
I think those are my top 5 things that we talked about.
There's probably maybe a couple other notable mentions. Even though the reboot, you were talking about visual effects. I think the Lion King is noteworthy, at least in its visual effects department. I mean, that was one of the best. I don't think they want to call it animation. They're saying it's kind of misrepresenting the tech and what they did. Okay. But those visual effects were incredible, really to be able to do that. So whether you kind of loved or didn't love the story compared to the original, I think that's definitely was a noteworthy thing that they did, and it was very cool. So,
anything else on your list there?
That covers most of it. You guys had a lot of the same ones I did.
I know, totally. I had Galaxy's Edge, just the creation of a Star Wars land on my list. I've yet to be there. Yeah. You kind of hit on that, but I do think that to me that opened in 2019 is kind of another turning. It shows too that Disney's heavily investing in the park still, and they're about innovation and they're about pushing forward. And if we get this, then in 5 years and 10 years, we can trust that it's going to even get better. Whatever the characters are, we can trust that Disney is in the business to put smiles on people's faces and make it still the happiest place on earth. I think that's fantastic.
Yep.
I don't want to leave on a negative note, but was there any misses this year? Anything you didn't enjoy all that much? I don't want to we're not, this isn't a negative podcast. We're fans, but there had to be something.
I'll be honest. There aren't many, there's some things I haven't seen yet. And maybe that's because I'm concerned that they may be a miss. Yeah. But I didn't really. There was nothing that I went to or watched that I went, well, that was a waste of my time. I don't expect everything to be a blockbuster. Everybody has a different view on that. But I don't expect every movie to be the exact same moment and feel, and so were some better than others, yes, but I didn't see anything that I thought was horrible this year.
Well, I didn't see anything horrible this year either, and I would agree with you. I think most of the things I'm skeptical about from 2019 I pretty much avoided at this point in my life. My kids might have seen it, and if they liked it, then I'm cool. You know what I mean? And it'd be perfect. What's popping in my mind that I think we're all not wanting to maybe say is the Aladdin remake.
So I was actually thinking the exact same thing.
Okay, so I haven't seen it. My kids and my family have all seen it without me, and they loved it. They really did. They did not grow up with the cartoon. And Aladdin, full disclosure, is my favorite Disney cartoon. When I was in middle school, it's one of my favorites of all time. The Robin Williams genie character. It was just the soundtrack. It was just perfect. And so when the curmudgeon in me is like, oh, you can't mess with perfect. And then Will Smith, and you saw there was some bad press about some of the screenshots that leaked, and you just kind of, there was going into it a little bit of negative energy, I think, which wasn't fair. I don't think that was fair.
That wasn't fair.
And now that I haven't seen the movie, but I did hear the soundtrack, and I loved it. I love the soundtrack, and I haven't seen them. Actually, I feel like Will Smith made the genie his and didn't try to remake Robin Williams' genie.
Right.
And I only know that through the music, and I felt it was fresh. I felt it was up to date, but respectful of the story. Now, not having seen it, I know we've had conversations about this, Ramin. You had some, and we're probably spending way too much time. I don't want to be critical, but I did. I like the soundtrack, and I love Will Smith's interpretation of the genie. But you had this kind of, if you were going to have a miss list, this would probably be on it for you.
Yeah, this would probably be the one that's maybe closest to a miss, but overall, I still liked it.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Will Smith kind of made that character's own. I think it would have been a horrible mistake to try to follow up and do a better Robin Williams than that would have been impossible to do.
Right,
so
right.
I feel like he was actually maybe the strongest character in the movie. I think some of my I guess concerns or criticisms, if I had much of any, I felt like I was kind of on the set the whole time. I never really felt like I got transported to another place. It felt like I was always aware.
Yeah.
They were on set.
It seems fair.
Yeah, I think that was one thing. I also liked the music. There was maybe just one song that I wasn't a huge fan of the placement of it per se. It felt a little forced, but overall, yeah, I thought it was good. And for those who haven't been exposed to the original cartoon, I feel like it did it justice.
Yeah.
I think.
Like I said, my kids loved it, so that tells me something. The other thing too, I think it's important. I think a lot of us didn't know what we were getting into with these live action remakes. Like, what were our expectations supposed to be? Like, the Lion King remake. I remember one person I know who saw it was very disappointed, and their disappointment was expressed by, it's just the exact same movie, just scene for scene, line for line, and I'm like, well, I think that's what it was supposed to. Again, I think maybe with the live actions going forward, I know Mulan's coming out, which I'm super excited to see. That looks fantastic, because it looks different. But I think maybe if there was something they could do better as far as promoting those movies, is manage our help us understand what it is a little bit better, or what they're trying to do or accomplish by releasing these.
They've all been different. I mean, from when the Cinderella movie came out, they did a live action Cinderella. I remember going with our girls, and that was not exactly the same story.
Right.
Then they've done things like the Maleficent, where they do a twist on. Then there've been some that have been like an almost reboot with just live action instead of animation. So you do go in sometimes going, okay, what am I going to get here? And so if you want a reboot with live action, you may be disappointed because it's different. And if you're expecting something new, you may be disappointed if it's exactly the same. It's hard to know what you're going to get.
It sure made a ton of money.
That's the amazing thing is, like, because, well, why are they doing all these? It's, well, obviously the audience wants to go.
That's true. Yeah. $1 billion is $1 billion.
And I as the oldest one in this group, I do remember going to see Disney movies that came to the theater more than once. They came like every 7 or 8 years. You had that opportunity to go back and say, I want to see Aladdin. That was a little bit later, but I'm going to go back and see The Jungle Book in the movie theater again. And it was like a new experience because you're seeing it but we don't have that now. We see things at home. And so the only way to see Aladdin new is if they redo it.
Yep.
And go see it on a big screen in a new format.
Fascinating conversation. I think all these things, this is a good list. But you may have your lists out there. You may have things you love most about Disney. You may disagree with us completely out there. We'd love to hear about it.
Yep. That's what we loved about Disney in 2019. What did you love about Disney? Why did you love it this year?
Let us know. Contact us through Instagram, websites, email addresses, which we will edit in here and tell you as soon as we have them. And we're super excited. Thanks for hanging in with us. And we're come back with a new episode here very soon. I think we're going to talk about your experience in the park on New Year's Eve.
That sounds great.
And your trip to Disney.
We'll come back.
I have so many questions for you.
That'd be great.
Thank you guys so much for hanging in there with us, and we will see you next time.